guys. We're having a special edition of our podcast this week. We're in Hollinger Park, enjoying the nice weather. We got our guest Ryan Gorman. And I promised though today I'd give her a shout out for being our first Twitter follower. So here's a shout out. What's the date today? It's the 28th. So it's April 28th.
Speaking of Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Fortier Bros. At Fortier Bros. Follow us.
Do it. Alright, so we're going to talk about parenting. Ryan is a single father, so he's going to fill us in on the challenges and the props of being a parent. So we'll start off, what's the biggest challenge you would say with raising a son?
Just being overall being able to provide every day and just make him happy. It's a challenge.
Alright.
It's something you want to do. You need to do.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, I know it must be hard. I couldn't imagine myself being in that situation. I want kids eventually, but I
just make sure you're financially set.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 5, turning 6 this year. Grade 1 next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Seems to be pretty happy. I just met him. He's a pretty funny kid.
Oh, yeah, he's a happy-go-lucky little boy.
Still playing at the park right now there.
Yeah, he's making friends. Not shy. Not like me, that's for sure.
So, have you been on your own the whole time?
No, I was with her for the first 6 months he was born. Then things got complicated. I moved back here. And when I moved out west, that's when she decided, it was a little too difficult. She asked me if I wanted him, so I took him. I've had him for most of the time. She's been back and forth a lot. And lately, since he's been going to school, he's been with me. But he's going to be going back to his mom at the end, midsummer. For a couple of years, he's going to go there for school.
For a couple of years,
Yeah, she wants him again, so, I'm not going to deny her that privilege.
Fair enough.
Granted me the privilege so far of being with him.
Well, it's good to see you guys work together like that. It's not always like that.
Yeah, we didn't go through court or anything about it, so it's just mutual agreement.
So financially, is the government helping you out, or do you have anything there?
No, they were helping her, but then when they found out he was going to school here with me, they cut her off.
Wow.
And then now for me to do it, I need documents. I need a note from either her, a priest, a doctor, just to go get approved. And even then, I could possibly get cut off because my friend got cut off, and he had all that.
Did she have to do all that when she got this?
No, because we were together when she first applied, and it was under her name. But now that because there's no court agreement, they don't know. They don't want to give money.
They don't want to give any more than they have to.
Yeah, and because it's so undetermined, they just they make it more of a process for a parent, a single parent to get the
which
documents.
Is kind of defeats the purpose, because it's harder already to start being a single parent than to have the two parents, and they make it harder on you still. That's what I was thinking about my student loans too. When you come out of school, right off the bat, you get charged $300 a month for a student loan. If you want to pay less, you have to apply to repayment assistance.
Then you have to reapply every
6 months.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a low, reasonable price at the start, and then once you get on your feet, the way the government does things, sometimes.
Yeah. Do you find it's harder, as a father instead of a mother, to get any kind of funding or anything like that, or?
Yes and no. I don't know. I haven't really
Been a mother?
I haven't. I'm no mother, right? And I also haven't put in as much effort as I could have to go get financial aid from them, because I already know what to expect. In the long run, they're going to ask for a court agreement. And I don't know. It's a struggle for both, man. Either one,
Struggle is real.
Yeah, women, mothers, they have just a hard time, because they think that, it's not that they think, it's because they're looked at as mother figures. They should be the one parent that so they already have that pressure. And it's hard for them to try to keep up in that image.
Fair enough, but my mom went through it too.
That's true.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a pretty tough one. There was court involved now.
Yeah.
It's always a tough situation.
Stuff for everybody. Stuff for the kids. Stuff for the parents.
Yeah.
He seems to be making out well there. He's having a good
Well,
time.
it's good that you get along with her too, like with your ex, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, we try to. Try to
Well,
do
As
it
much
for
as you
him.
can, you know.
Yeah.
speak of the devil,
Yeah. Just running around.
Sounds blast.
Runs up and down the sidewalk every morning waiting for the bus.
Oh, does he? Yeah, he's full of energy. I miss that.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I just ran all around all in the morning time.
so he's still all excited for school.
Oh yeah.
Going up to love school.
He cries when he doesn't get to go.
Really?
Yeah.
What grade? He's a grade 2 now?
He's going to grade 1 next
Grade
year.
1, yeah, kindergarten. Cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've watched the news this week or whatever today. There's a curfew now imposed in Baltimore. They've had these huge riots going on. So the reason why this is happening is because of a man named Freddie Gray. He died in police custody. What happened? Well, the alleged story is, anyways, that him and his buddies saw some cops, ran into some cops, and for some reason, because they're black in America, they decided to run away. Then the next thing we know is this guy's down. Like you don't see any video of the situation, but the guy died of trauma to his neck or whatever, like
right.
spinal cord trauma. So basically, they've already admitted that the police probably messed it up. They didn't call an ambulance. They put him into the back of a van. He asked for medical assistance like over and over. This van made like 3 stops, took like half an hour, 45 minutes to get him to the hospital. He stayed in the hospital for a week and died in the hospital. So like this is just one of the many incidents now, highly publicized incidents of a black man being killed by police for no real reason.
Yeah.
Well, they say like we don't know.
No
He hasn't been
public
proven that he's
knowledge.
been killed, but but no real reason. So there's huge riots going on, violent riots, and people across the country have been denouncing these guys, whatever.
I understand there's a curfew in place at this point.
Yeah, they've put in a curfew for the entire city of Baltimore. They have to be inside at 10 p.m. and can't come back out till 7 a.m. The National Guard's there. They're setting up security over there.
Basically, a police state right now.
Yeah. So, like, let's say, for example, the Baltimore Orioles, they had a series against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. They moved, I think, 2 of the games down to Tampa Bay. But they're going to play the last game back up in Baltimore with no fans there.
It's going to be
all.
closed to the public.
That's ridiculous.
I've never seen that in any sporting event. Doesn't that like eliminate the point of a sporting event? Isn't it like a spectator sport? Isn't that why the sport exists? Or like on that scale, anyways?
If I just green screen a bunch of the fans in the background.
Add some cheering audio.
Well, I guess, yeah, because it could go long enough that, people have to get home and they
Pass
miss
curfew.
Pass their curfew. So anyways, what do you guys think about the situation or what's going on in general?
I think the rioting is a little excessive. I mean, sure, it's the protest, but then again, that hasn't really been doing much good for people lately, and by the looks of it, there's been lots of protests.
But I think it depends, like, if it's legitimate rioting or if that's just the media coverage that you're seeing. If there's 1 or 2 people that are going fucking crazy, like, and then the rest are peacefully protesting, then that's fine. But if it's actually, like, I don't know.
So, like, from some of the numbers that I've seen, there's about 10,000 people in the protest, and then, like, about 100, this is yesterday, and about 100 to 200 have been rioting.
Okay. So it's still pretty minimal. It's just, like, that happened in Vancouver when the friggin' Canucks lost the cup.
Yeah.
and that's nowhere near as good a reason as the problems they're facing.
Exactly. And there was no curfew.
I mean, at a certain point, if you're gonna persecute and treat people like to the extent of what's going on in the United States, they're gonna have to expect that people are gonna rise up, and there's going to be some backlash. There's some like, at least in Ferguson in Missouri, they proved that there was systematic persecution of black people. Emails across all the top levels of Department of Justice, the top levels of their police departments. There's basically like the culture there to arrest black people and even use their fines to pay for
infrastructure.
in the city and stuff like that. I don't know that much about the Baltimore thing, but in Ferguson, they have like a 60% black population and 90% of the people in prison are black.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's kind of representative to the prison population in most of the United States. Not to mention the United States has the highest prison population in the world.
It's unreal, the prison population in the United States. It's become an industry. The prisons are run by corporations, and their goal is to make money. So the more prisons they have, the more money they can make. It's just ridiculous.
So when it comes to Baltimore, is the problem really to bring in the army and put up walls and increase the divide between the people, or do you start looking at how to
change the police force? Get some sensibility to the police force, get them to think about what they're doing.
Supposed to be protecting and serving, not murdering.
Like, I mean, if it was me, and, it's like, your friends or your family's getting persecuted, killed, attacked, whatever, and it's telling you just to be quiet or stay in your house or protest quietly, at some point, it's going to become violent. Like, you see the cops getting bigger guns, you see the cops getting tanks.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Militarizing the police. So they're expecting some sort of backlash. They're expecting to have to...
Like, I forget the numbers, but a very large number of military surplus equipment has been handed down to police departments in the United States in the last decade or so. Like, we saw a video, and it was just in a small American town, and they're just driving along, and all of a sudden there's this tank-like vehicle on the street, and it's just the police department.
Just driving, patrolling.
Yeah, just patrolling. No.
Yeah, like, have you seen Dark Knight Rises there, where they get these, like, Batmobile cops, whatever? Like, it's crazy, man. They look like...
Well, even, like, there's been talk about tasers coming to Timmins. Like, what would the cops use tasers? Has crime really been going up lately?
That's another thing. I'm pretty sure, like... Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
It almost seems like they're doing that for, like, law enforcement everywhere. They're trying to weaponize them more.
It's ridiculous. Like, I haven't really looked at the stats, but I don't think crime rates are going up.
No. If anything, they're around neutral. Like, I don't know.
We'll have to look into that. But I'm pretty sure that in the last 20 years they have been going down. Crime rates in general in the States. But we'll post a link to that.
And if anything, like, we call our prisons here, we call it Department of Corrections, right?
Yeah.
So it's about fixing a social problem. It's not about whatever, either killing or incarcerating people.
Well, that's the problem with the privatization of prisons. Like I'm saying, like, we're not at that point here, and hopefully it never comes to that point in Canada. But it's a huge problem in the United States. Like mega prisons and everything like that. It's just unreal.
Even a lot of major corporations are just like having their own private military.
Yeah, private mercenaries that can hire armies. And like even the United States government hires those private mercenaries to fight their wars. They're not American soldiers, right? So they can put them in more at-risk situations.
In places where they don't actually have a war declaration.
Exactly, and they can cover their asses. So
here's the thing I was wondering today. There's so many problems going on at home. that they have to declare a state of emergency and give a week curfew to Baltimore, why do they think they can govern the rest of the world? Why can they go into the Middle East to promote their freedom when they can't do it at home?
Oh, that's just America for you. They can't concentrate on fixing their problems. They create more problems in the world, and then it just goes to shit.
They gotta shoot you to get their point across.
Yeah.
Alright, one last thought about this riot, and I was talking to Byron about it today actually. So most of the reports I heard were about people like concerned about their cars and the windows getting broken into, talking about property. Like what's more important? The problems these people actually face, the welfare of your citizens, or the property of some citizens in the city, right?
Like, you don't want to put one versus the other either. Like, ultimately, there should be.
Well, I would if it's between the welfare of a person and their car.
But why should it be between the welfare of a person and their car?
Because the media, that's all I've seen about it. They don't talk about the actual problems.
Though the media is corrupt.
Yeah, owned by private, owned by corporations.
Yes, the American media is very corrupt. That's why they can't put the welfare of the people against the.
I'm not saying against. I'm just saying it should be above.
It should be, but it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the discussion that's being had. I don't think. I think it should just be fixing the problem.
I don't even think they know what the problem is.
Maybe we should tell if.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll talk to Barack next week.
Yeah.
I want an exclusive interview with him.
Let's go to Washington. Like we mentioned at the start of the show, we're outside, and you probably can tell, but it's first real nice day we've had here in Timmins this year.
It's beauty.
I think it's almost 20 degrees. So
16 today.
what kind of spring activities you guys gonna plan on doing there?
Soaked in the sun, man.
Just like this?
Yeah.
Play at the park. There's a water park.
I don't think that's on yet. You could ask to get it turned on, I guess. I don't know. Talk to Mayor Steve.
Yeah, Steve might be into that. Oh, speaking of Mayor Steve, the unicorn dude off Facebook there. He got a picture in with Mayor Steve. He showed up at City Hall. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you guys might not all live in Timmins or might not have seen this guy, but he's been all over Facebook. This guy's dressed up and he's got this unicorn hat, like unicorn mask on, and he's going around town. The Timmins unicorn.
People are trying to get him on Ellen.
They're trying to get him on Ellen.
I've seen comments about that. People
That's
are trying
awesome.
to get him on Ellen.
He's been spotted around town multiple times in the last couple of weeks there. I don't know what his goal really is. He's just having fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice to see, eh?
I've seen him commenting on one of the
Yeah,
posts.
I saw that too.
Just doing it just for laughs. Make people happy.
Cool. It's kind of stuff you see in the springtime, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous I didn't think of that first.
Wait, is it secretly you?
Turn around, there's a unicorn dude.
I don't really have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. I'll get out fishing in May too for a weekend there. That's coming up. I can't wait. Long weekend.
Yep.
2 weeks from now, I think.
Fishing season sure is here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna take the bike out, probably bike around Porcupine Lake.
Right on.
Maybe attempt to bike from South Porcupine to Timmins at some point.
Oh yeah,
Maybe bike to the podcast one day.
take the back road there or what?
Yeah, well, I think there's a trail somewhere.
Oh, I heard there's a trail actually.
Thinking about buying a skateboard again.
Right on.
Oh yeah. I've been seeing scooters all over the place around here, man. I didn't know those were back. Like those were huge when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like old school scooters.
Yeah, with like the thing popping out there.
Oh yeah. Maybe I'll buy myself one of those. Those are freaking sweet. One of the ones with the wheels that light up there.
Another cool one I seen, man. This dude was like, it was like a one wheel thing, and he stands on a platform. So like both sides of the wheel have these little platforms or whatever, And I swear to God, no stick coming up or anything. You're just bouncing on this wheel, fucking.
You turn on
forwards
it
and backwards.
and it
Yeah,
moves
it's
it. Yeah.
That's crazy. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's waiting for someone for right after work the other day, and this guy just zoomed through the intersection. I was like, holy crap!
That's some Star Wars shit right there.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Yeah.
We went out this weekend for Ryan's birthday.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. How old are you now, bud?
Big 25.
Oh, it's creeping up on me. It's quarter century.
26 next month.
Feel old yet?
Nah, not really.
I
Nothing's
do.
changed. You got at least another quarter century.
I hope so.
Unless Aydin puts me in an early grave.
Yeah. Gonna start getting the great hairs soon.
I did kind of feel old at the bar, actually.
Yeah.
But then there's some like really older people, and then there's like
Josh's
really
mom.
people.
Oh yeah, so we saw our buddy Joshua's mom at the bar. That was a good time.
She was pretty lucid.
She was
She was
good
way
person
more drunk than me, man.
She's like, let's take a picture and send it to Josh. That's my spot on Joshua's mom impersonation.
Her name's Jeanette, by the way. Hey, Jeanette.
Hey, Jeanette. Do you have Facebook?
She's got Facebook.
Oh yeah, you're friends with her on Facebook? There's not much to report in the community this week. It's a pretty tame week, as far as I've been informed.
A sportsman show happened. I didn't go. How did you guys go?
I didn't even know it was a sportsman show.
No, I didn't go.
Like you said, unicorn dude took his picture with the mayor.
Had some fair trade coffee. Your house. We're talking about some really interesting things this week. You guys lucked out.
I'm trying to find the. So yesterday I was browsing my computer. Turns out I still had uTorrent on, and right on my browser, a letter pops up from Eastlink. There's a warning, I guess, saying that they've been notified by HBO. I was watching an HBO show. I'm gonna say it's Bill Maher, great show. But I have HBO on TV anyways. Like, whatever. What's the big deal if I download it?
You're within your rights if you have HBO on cable to download an HBO show. So, but I think that Eastlink probably just doesn't know that you have HBO.
And seating probably too is an issue.
Did you you actually downloaded it? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, this is the second time I've got one of these letters. So the first time it was my landlord that got it, and he told me. So we got this program to go through a VPN. That's a virtual private network. So basically, my computer comes out, plugs into another network like that we pay, and then that network, which is supposed to be secure or whatever, connects to the torrent. So there's a go between my computer and wherever the torrent. But the thing is, so I had that on when I downloaded the movie, and then yesterday when I turned my computer on, VPN didn't turn on, but uTorrent came on. It was like seeding. So I don't know if you downloaded torrents, you're downloading like a piece of a show, and you're downloading pieces from like everyone. So it relies on people.
How many people
seeding
have it?
Yeah. So I turned on and seeding, and that's how I got the notes. So yeah.
I was under the impression it's only illegal to copyright movies with the intent to sell and like make money off.
No.
Yeah. I think what they got out of it was like redistribution or something.
Oh, is that what it was?
Well, it's because it was seeding. That's why.
That makes sense. I mean, I know that in Canada they haven't really historically been harsh on stuff like that. And
yeah, this was I read it a little bit. It was a new law called like the modernization of our Copyright Act or something like that.
I saw that, and it's kind of unfortunate because I know Tech Savvy and internet service provider had went to court Voltage Pictures, I believe it was, had asked them to release the names of their clients that were seeing or downloading the movie, and they didn't want to, and they went to court and they lost. They spent millions of dollars in over a year in court battles to protect their customers, and they ended up losing that lawsuit. So it's unfortunate that that's the way that went. I mean, I get copyright laws to a certain extent, but those people already make a lot of money. Cable prices are ridiculous. HBO prices are ridiculous. On top of paying for cable, you're paying for the internet. Come on.
Look at the houses these people live in. They're not losing on money.
Exactly. They're losing a bit of money, but does it really matter at that point?
Yeah.
Well, see, okay, so two things, like, they, apparently, not that, like, I trust in, like, anyone who's spying or whatever, the government. Apparently, Eastlink doesn't give out names, and it wouldn't be my name, because I'm not, the internet connection's not my name. Apparently, all Eastlink has was my IP address, and they were flagged by HBO, so HBO, now it's Canadian law that they have to warn you. So I'm guessing somewhere down the line, that warning is going to turn into a charge. I don't know what, like right now it's just a warning.
It's not illegal to watch these shows off a website, though, is it?
I believe
To stream online?
I believe it is, but from what I've heard, they're not really targeting that right now. They're going more after the phones.
It also depends, because like if you're watching it right on, like, let's say for example CBC.ca, then that's obviously fine because CBC is putting it there for you to watch. But if you're watching it from like Watch Series or something like that, then that might be illegal. But like you said, they're not targeting.
From what I hear right now, the big targets and HBO, since I guess maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but the first 4 episodes of Game of Thrones were hacked. Find them on some sites. But ever since then, they've been cracking down. Like, they've called bars in the United States to tell them to stop having Game of Thrones parties because a lot of people buy HBO subscriptions.
Really?
There used to be Canadian citizens that would pay for an HBO Now subscription, which is an online only HBO that you can, kind of like Netflix that you can watch on your computer. But because HBO Now is not available in Canada, so they would pay with their Canadian credit card, use like some sort of software to fool them into thinking they're in the US and watch HBO. They've cut off a lot of those accounts. So you're just generally losing money.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I've heard that HBO has been on like a crazy crackdown.
HBO.
So the internet's changing, boys. The internet's changing.
Yeah. What about so-called net neutrality? What do you think that actually exists?
Never even heard of that.
All right. Well, so net neutrality is the notion that any website on the internet gets equal treatment, whether it's Joe Blow over there or it's a huge corporation like Netflix. That neither of them is going to get favorites, like be a favorite. Like if you search for something, it's not that's gonna, like, it could be anybody. Like the most relevant content is supposed to be what it is, not.
I just want to add to that. It's also like saying that, let's say Bell can't throttle, which is like give you a crappier connection when you're watching Netflix as opposed to when you're watching their own
streaming service.
Streaming service. Because that has happened in the past where certain websites, Netflix was one of them, they actually were making deals with American companies like Comcast or whatever, like with the American telecommunications companies, so that Netflix wouldn't. Well, it would be so that Netflix would get preferential treatment, but really it was like those companies putting a squeeze on Netflix's traffic and Netflix wanting to be able to offer that to their users, right? So,
I think it also would apply to third-party internet service providers. So like there's like TechSavvy. I'm using that example a lot because I used to work there, but we were a third-party internet service provider. So that means that the last bit of the lines is still Bell lines or Rogers lines or one of the two main guys or Eastlink or whatever. Anyways, so historically, the big providers throttled the people on third-party service providers. It gave them slower internet. For the last little while, it hasn't been like that, but I think that net neutrality kind of enforces that.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. So
That's a little ridiculous.
yeah, anything to make a buck.
Yeah.
It's like friggin' hockey. Can't watch the Habs games here in Timmins because it's a Leafs area. And apparently North Bay too was, but the MP for Nipissing made a big ruckus about it, and they unblocked it out in the North Bay area. They didn't unblock it out in Timmins.
They're all Canadian teams. They should be played all across Canada.
I agree with you full-heartedly.
Even though I'm not a fan of the Canadians, but anyone, I don't even watch hockey, so.
Speaking of hockey,
That's just,
the Habs made it to the next round. Go Habs, go!
All right, one more question about the internet. So, do you guys think how well do you think the government and the big guys like Google and Apple work together when it comes to sharing knowledge of what we do?
they work hand in hand, I think. That's why they're striving so well.
Well, it's true. Like when you think about it, like Facebook or Apple or Google would have like not only what you did today, but like your information start whenever you get on the internet. Even if you delete your Facebook account, they still have all that content. So.
Yeah. Now Google, Facebook, Twitter, all these
Apple
sites are all linked. They link your
true,
addresses.
Yeah. You can sign in with Google or Facebook to random apps.
Well, exactly, and to that point, like a lot of the information, the government doesn't really even have to go through those companies. They could just go on the sites and look you up and just see what the hell you're up to. So
Not so much with privacy settings, but they have a way of bypassing that, which is still invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
But of course, through the government, they get away with it.
Yeah, that was one of the things in the C-51, I think. So that they could work better.
Yeah. So they could just go through all your stuff without a warrant.
Yeah. Or with
they
a
still,
warrant from a secret court. Like,
my understanding is that it would still have to go to court.
From the Elizabeth May video that I saw yesterday, there's sort of like they want to be able to you would get the warrant from a judge, but then they use this this is if you're this isn't supposed to be for regular citizens, but it's some 50 months for terrorism. But then the court that you would go to, first of all, the judge issues the warrant, and then the judge whatever has to leave it to CSIS or whatever. It doesn't really get that much oversight. And the court that you go to might end up being off the record because of the top secret whatever.
Yeah.
Top secret level of terrorism because
whatever private owned organization.
Which is kind of scary. I mean, I guess at the same time we're the ones putting our data onto these networks.
Yeah, because the information Facebook asks you for and those sites, if the government asks you for that information, you probably wouldn't tell them what you did at 5:55 p.m. on April 17th. If the government just called you up and asked you, hey, what are you doing at this exact moment? You'd be like, what? Wait, yeah, you just put it on Facebook.
Even now you get messages on Facebook and they're like, oh yeah, I sent from Schumacher.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you are.
You can click on it and you can see exactly the map.
They have the thing too to put your phone number on there. Whereas it blocks it for everyone, but it's still access to you. But if somebody has your phone number and they put it in there, they could pop your profile up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Because I had my number on there, and somebody found me with my phone number. Yeah.
Weird.
And nobody could even see or know that I had a phone number on Facebook. It's crazy. So then I took it completely off.
Huh. Another thing about Facebook too is they're always redoing their privacy rules.
Yeah.
I see like at least a few times a year pops up and like, oh, we've got new privacy rules.
Yeah. So even if you set your privacy rules, they just all of a sudden change them.
Yeah, the reset.
And then just like everything else, they give you like 40. They actually do like on purpose. They like scientifically whatever do it to so that
Nobody reads it.
yeah, like they make it like super long, small print, like really hard to read. Like they have their tag. I mean, like those tactics have been around and like since contracts existed.
Even
I
if
guess,
you
like,
do
have to
take
find
the
a
time,
way.
sorry.
Yeah. Go on.
Even if you do take the time to read it, they have it worded so
Yeah.
delicately that you need to be a linguist to understand it.
You'd be a
You need
legal
a
expert.
linguist, or you need to be a lawyer to read
Yeah.
a freaking. Yeah.
So like, why they even do it? Just to save
Cover
their
their
own.
ass.
Yeah.
So who knows what it says in there?
Yeah.
Maybe we should hire somebody to read it through. Hire a lawyer.
Because like as far as I know, I never agreed to keep my account permanently logged into their systems.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
if that would have been an option, I would have said no.
There's another one I'll give to you is that's you're not always sure. Like obviously it's different if you use like a VPN like me, like a private network. So then you don't know, but you're not always sure where your information is actually going or being stored. So when you're on Facebook, you could be talking to someone, and or whatever your account could go on to like to an American server in a split second or whatever overseas, and then you're subject to the laws of that country.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh
You're
yeah.
subject
That's
to that
true,
country's
yeah.
laws. Not to mention that countries like the United States and Canada already have policy that allow them, according to our governments, to spy on other countries. So they're also doing it to us, right? So who knows who has your information now?
Bro,
Like you look
if it's on the internet, everybody who finds a need for it has it.
and they say it's secure, but you like they had this huge iCloud hack, all that like, celebrity stuff. Like they had Sony email hacks.
Microsoft too.
Yeah.
They found Hillary's emails.
Microsoft, Destiny, and Grand Theft Auto all got shut down for a while.
Oh yeah. Even the Sony one at
Sony
Christmas
PlayStation
time. You got a PS4, we can get it on the network because somebody hacked and.
Kind of interesting. I want to look more into it, but some of those Sony emails apparently prove government intervention in
Hollywood,
scripts.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact.
Allegedly, House of Cards came down from the State Department in the States.
That's from the Kaiser report.
That's from the Kaiser report. So that's, I mean, take it or leave it. It's possible, but you could also just be saying that.
I don't know if that came out of the emails or not. I guess that's not Sony really.
It's a Netflix.
Kind of crazy, man. All that information you got there.
Yeah.
I think that it's good to have a lot of information, like the database of information, but it's not really the right kind of information. You don't need to know everything about everybody. You know things about the world. Like that's what the internet's there for. Like knowing how the population, knowing science, knowing about global warming, informing people about things that matter, instead of
doing independent journalism.
Yeah. It gives way for alternative media, exactly. So you don't just see the 3 or 4 big companies tell you what they want to tell you.
Yeah.
You can have people like us just talking in the park, and then you still get some views in the community. So you need stuff like that, but everybody's gonna have an opinion. Everybody's gonna be opinionated. Everybody's gonna have a bias. So
there's gonna be some person to shut another person's opinion down.
So you gotta shop around for your news. I'm not saying that all the news is necessarily false.
Yeah.
I'm just saying be careful what you listen to, and listen to more than one news source.
Do you want a few that we picked up? Check out Trues with Russell Brand on Netflix. Kaiser Report that we were talking about. He just says it. A good critique of Canadian media. It's a podcast, and they also have a website. It's Canadaland. Canadaland or CanadaLandShow.com.
Another good place to go for news is Twitter.
Yeah.
Ironically,
Twitter, you can customize your own feed. You can get whatever you want.
you can follow us.
anybody.
You can follow us, Fortier Bros on Twitter. At
Remember,
Fortier Bros.
just remember the Twitter news. It's too accurate. You get shut down.
That's another thing too, with the internet, like censorship can become an issue.
Net
It's becoming
neutrality.
an issue, more of an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh,
There's Aydin.
you're thirsty. Well, there you go.
Oh, he's all dirty.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, okay.
So that was Aydin putting his hand in some
Maple, honey, whatever. Something sticky.
Well, that's it for us for this week. It's a little bit of a shorter podcast, but it's good to see you guys. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks
for
for coming
coming
on
out.
the show, Ryan. I'm M.
This is Sam
Ryan Gorman.
and Aydin.
He's thirsty. We're gonna get him some water.
Aydin Thirsty, Jonathan Boyle Gorman.
Well, if the Phil find people or the people find Phil, there's a whole lot of hang going on in what we built, and I can't fight the feeling that the feeling can't find me anyway.
Okay, so today before the podcast, I had kind of a sad moment. Bringing in my van, which was our family van for a good while. Her name was Bessie, aka the Party Bus. Got some good times with her. Maybe show a few pictures and the video of her getting dragged off by the forklift. This is all I got left.
Baco 111.
You can take my plate numbers down now, biatch.
We'll forever remember. And cheers to Bessie.
Cheers.
Inside the healing until the people define me so. So, come on, my brother, let me try.